Hey guys, how you doing? It's Will here, back for another fight card this weekend. We've had the last 3 weeks. We've had really solid fight cards, and it culminates in this month with the UFC light heavyweight title being defended by Jonny Bones Jones against Chael Sonnen. I'm a huge Jon Jones fan. Anybody that knows me knows this. I buy all his gear. I support him in every which ways, and I say Chael Sonnen. How can you not love Chael Sonnen? The guy hypes fights better than no other. But this is a big fight for Sonnen. I don't think he's gonna. I think Jon Jones is gonna show him why Jon Jones is one of the best that is in mixed martial arts, and for many years to come as well. Um, the card's in Newark, New Jersey, at the Prudential Centre, which I think Jon Jones won his title at against Shogun years back. So I'm hoping for big things here from Jon Jones. I think he can go nuts and do whatever he wants to Chael Sonnen in this fight, but who knows? Let's wait and see. Just a wee minute on last week's card, the UFC on Fox 7. Unbelievable fight card, so many knockouts. I think it tied the record for most knockouts in the UFC. And the main event was there was some performances I think we have to shout out is Chad Mendes and TJ Dillashaw, Matt Brown as well. Dillashaw and Mendes, I think they're going to be fighting for titles within the next 12 months if they keep the way they're going. And Matt Brown is on a 5-fight win streak, and he took out a really talented fighter in Jordan Mayen. So yeah, and Benson Henderson against Gilbert Melendez, great fight. I had it 48-47 for Hendo, with him taking rounds 2, 3 and 4. But that second round was really close, and a lot of people are giving it to Melendez as well, so I can't really complain with that. But we're going to go all the way at the start of the card for UFC 159. It's Stephen Searle against Kurt Holloway. Holloway, his last fight, it was in Strikeforce against Pat Healy. I think he probably learned quite a lot from that fight. It was his first big fighter that he fought. Healy is a veteran of the sport. He's fought a lot of big fighters, fought pretty much all of them outside of the UFC, and he lost by decision, so he probably learned quite a lot. Stephen Searle, I think he was a 3-fight win streak in the UFC before he got beat by Darren Elkins last time out. So yeah, I think I like Stephen Searle in this fight. I think he'll get it by decision. But if it goes to the ground, Holloway, he's a submission guy, so he may actually cause some problems for Searle down in there. But I'm going to go Searle by decision. Next up, we've got Nick Catone in his home state against James Head. Nick Catone, he's on a 2-fight loss. He's lost his last 2 fights. This is a big fight. He needs to win this to probably stay in the UFC. And James Head, he got knocked the fuck out by Mike Pyle in his last fight, so he needs to get back on the win wagon here. So I'm going to go with Nick Catone by decision again. Just because I think he's in his home state and he needs to win this fight. So yeah, next up's a fight I really don't care much for. Leonard Garcia against Cody McKenzie. McKenzie got knocked out by Chad Mendes. Should never ever been in there with Chad Mendes in the first place. Leonard Garcia, he's lost his last 4. Why he's in the UFC? I know he's had some fights in there which could have went his way, probably the last 2. But I don't know why he's in the UFC. Fun to watch always. Comes out, he seems to have a game plan, and then gets hit, and then that's it. He just starts throwing big haymakers to try and knock people out. Never works, but always exciting to watch. I want him to win this one. But one of these guys, whoever loses, is out of the UFC, and I hope McKenzie goes. Very talented on the ground, but he shouldn't be in the UFC. Next up, we've got Rustam Kabalov against Medeiros. Kabalov's coming off that, I think it was a suplex KO last time against Vince McHale, and he looked really good. Medeiros, I think it's his first fight in the UFC. Excuse me. And I think Kabalov, this is a fight just to kind of get him back further up the rankings in the lightweight division. I think he'll take him out. He looks promising, this guy. So let's see how he does this upcoming weekend. Next fight, we've got Sarah McMahon against Sheila Gaff in the women's bantamweight division. Now this is a really good fight. Sarah McMahon is a wrestler, and I think she's undefeated, if I remember right. And she is 6-0. So, but this is her first big fight. She beat Basler, which was probably a big fight for her, and she beat her by decision. She goes to decision quite a bit, which she did when she was in Invicta as well. But this is a big fight against Sheila Gaff. Only the third fight in the UFC for the women, so they're still putting out there. Sheila Gaff, who's from Germany, 10-4-1. This is the big fight for her. She's she's fought a lot of the kind of decent girls around Europe, Royson and Aislinn Daly and stuff like that. But this is another big fight. So whoever wins this here will put themselves right up there for a future title shot maybe. I like Sarah McMahon. I think she's a wrestler. She dictates where this goes. Once she gets her down, she's going to pound the shit out of Gaff, and I think she might get a stoppage. If not, it'll be an easy decision. But I hope McMahon wins, because I think she can cause some problems in the UFC women's bantamweight division. Next up, we've got Gian Vellante. He is against Oven Samprio. He's a bit of a beast. This guy, Samprio, he won. I think he was on a big win streak in Strikeforce, which got snapped by Musashi. A way back, I think it's Melendez and Masvidal. He won his last fight against TJ Cook. Was a kind of fight to get him back on to the win column. He won by KO, but he was on a good fight, a good win streak when he kind of beat Benji Radish even, Abongo Humphrey as well. So he's a big guy. Vellante, he's a guy I actually like watching. This guy fight. I've been watching him quite a wee bit in Strikeforce and the Challengers. He fought some decent fighters. Lawrence Larkin, who fought last weekend, I actually thought he beat Francis Cormont as well, and he looked good. And he lost to Chad Griggs as well, who is just terrible. But I like Samprio here. I think Samprio's gonna cause a lot of problems for Vellante. So I think he might win by decision as well. Then we've got a fight that was actually just kind of changed today. It was supposed to be Eric Perez against Johnny Bedford, I think it was. But Johnny Bedford is now fighting Brian Caraway. He's coming in 5 days' notice for Perez here. Not big on Brian Caraway, let's be honest. He probably gets the shit beat out by his missus Misha Tate. Let's be honest, I'd probably let her beat the shit out of me as well. I would, because she's quite a nice looking girl. So, but Brian Caraway was never big on him before he was in the Ultimate Fighter. During the Ultimate Fighter, I really wasn't that big on him. Fought some good fighters though. Mark Cominick, he lost to him. Pai Shao, he lost to him in WEC. But as I say, not the biggest fan of Brian Caraway, even though he does possess some really good submission skills. Once it hits the ground, he can put people out, and he did that against Dustin Neese and I think it was Mitch Gagnon, rear naked chokes. So yeah, he lost his last fight in Japan, which was way back in March. Wasn't that long ago, in fact, probably about 6 weeks ago, 7-8 weeks ago maybe. When he lost to Misagaki, which I think he maybe should have won. That was my decision. I thought he'd taken the fight, even though I picked Misagaki. But Johnny Bedford, he's a bit of a brute, this guy, when he wants to be. You've seen him in Tough. He was knocking people out, and he's won his 2 fights in the UFC against Gaudino and Venicus. So yeah, I think it's a good fight for Bedford. Hopefully he comes in and he knocks Caraway out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick second round TKO for Johnny Bedford. Then we move on to the main card. Another fighter from New Jersey, and Jim Miller. Jim Miller is a perennial contender in the UFC lightweight division. Has been for years. He's fought all of the best in this division. Will fight anybody, basically, and he's only lost to the best people in probably in his career. Look at the people. I'll list off the people he lost to. 4 losses, I think it is. Frankie Edgar, he's a legend of the lightweight divisions. Gray Maynard, who is always there like himself, and if he wins his fight against TJ Grant, he gets Benson Henderson next. He lost to Benson Henderson, the champion, who is it's just tough. WC champ, UFC champ, and Nate Diaz, who's on his day can beat absolutely anybody when he wants to. So his last fight was probably fight of the year against Joe Lozon. It was just a war at UFC 155. The guy, he's tough on his feet. You go to the ground, he can submit you. But he's got a tough fight against another veteran here, in Pat Healy, who fought everybody in Strikeforce, and he's on 6-fight win streak at the minute. He beat Caris Fedor, Blanco, Wisely, just some of the people that he beat. Not huge names, but he has faced some good people like Josh Thompson, who knocked out Nate Diaz last weekend. He lost to him back, I think it was about 3 years ago now. So he's fought other people outside, like Jake Ellenberger and Mike Guyman and Rory Markham. He's won and lost a few, and he faced Condit as well. He beat Carlos Condit. He subbed him years and years and years ago. I think it was 2006 maybe. Could be wrong. But yeah, he beat him. But I think this is just a fight too much for Pat Healy, and I think he'll get submitted here by Jim Miller. But could be a really good fight this as well. So I'm pulling for Miller because I'd like to see him get a shot, because he faces all the top guys and he gives him a really tough fight. So I'm going to go with Jim Miller, second round, third round submission. Next up, we're in the light heavyweight division again. We've got Phil Davis, who is a guy I always like watching. It can be a wee bit boring sometimes, but there's been a bit of verbal sparring between Phil Davis and Vinny Magalhaes. He's coming off a win over Wagner Prado, which there's nothing to really write home about. His fight before that, he lost pretty convincingly to Rashad Evans, former champion. But before that, he was undefeated. Beat Little Nog, Tim Boach, Ronnie Wallace, Alexander Gustafsson, Brian Stan. So he's beaten some big name fighters there. But he's against the guy here, Vinny Magalhaes. Phil Davis is a wrestler, so he'll want to take this to the ground, but he can stand. If he goes to the ground with Vinny Magalhaes, it could be a short night for him. Even though Davis looks he looks outstanding when he goes. He's got his own version of submissions. But Vinny Magalhaes, he's a submission wrestling grappler. He's a champion. He's a world jiu-jitsu champion as well. So this guy, if you go to the ground with this guy like he showed against Igor Prokraetz, he will take a limb home, just like Frank Mir usually does. I think he was in Tough years back, maybe. Yeah, he was. But as I say, I think this is a tough fight for Magalhaes. I think Davis he'll take him out, take him down, get back up, and he'll do that the whole fight, and he'll clinch, he'll do something. I don't think he'll get caught in any of the submissions that Magalhaes, even though he's quite innovative with his submission attempts. I think that Phil will kind of stifle that, and he'll know when to go up and get away, and I think he's better on his feet as well. So I'm expecting Phil Davis to win by a unanimous decision. I think he'll just be a bit too classy for Vinny Magalhaes at this time in his career. Then we've got the heavyweights. We've got Big Country Roy Nelson against Czech Congo. Czech Congo, I met him once, and my shoes have got more personality than Czech Congo has. He just doesn't seem interested in some of the fans that he has. And I think there's a few people that follow me on Twitter who've met him at different events, and he's just somebody that you don't really want to meet. He's just like boring, pretty much boring, and doesn't really interact with his fans. But he's against Roy Nelson here, who's a tough guy to face in the UFC heavyweight division. He's coming off a couple of wins. It's Nelson over Mitrione and Dave Herman by KO. He lost to Verdun before that. He beat Krokop, and then he lost to Mir before that. So he's fighting big guys. He fought Dos Santos before that as well. So he's not like he's fighting the worst in the division. I think I'm really looking forward to this fight, because Congo can show that he's got a chin. That comeback over Pat Barry will go down as one of probably the best comeback in the UFC. But Roy Nelson, we know he can take it to the ground. He's a good submission grappler. And we saw when Congo faced Frank Mir, he went to the ground, he got submitted. But I don't think Nelson is as highly advanced as what Frank Mir is. But he's coming off a win over Sean Jordan, I think it was. UFC 149, which was one of the worst fights I've ever seen in my life. He lost to knocked out by Mark Hunt in Japan, but he beat Mitrio and Pat Barry, Travis Brown. He drew with Travis Brown, sorry, at UFC 120 in London. I remember watching that, where Brown got deducted a point, which was a load of shit. But he's fought some big guys in Velasquez and Mia and lost. I think Roy Nelson could knock him out, and I think I'm going to go Roy Nelson by knockout in the first round at UFC 159. Co-main event, Michael Bisping against Alan Belcher. A lot of elbow sparring between these two. I don't like Michael Bisping. I never have. I never will. Alan Belcher, really talented black belt in so many. I think he's judo and Duke Rufus, kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. So he's a really tough fighter. He's not lost to many guys in his career. They're all kind of big fighters. He lost to Yushin. In fact, he's lost 7 times. I didn't think he lost as much as that. He lost to Akiyama, which he should have won. But he lost his last fight to Yushin Okama, who's lost to a couple of times. But his win before that against Husamar Palhares was incredible. He just beat the shit out of Palhares, went to the ground with him, gave 2 shits saying that Palhares is a beast on the ground and just knocked him out. Bisping got knocked the fuck out in his last fight against Vitor Belfort, which was one of my highlights, which will be one of my highlights of the year, no doubt about it. I know there's some people that will not be like me saying that, Foxy, but I think he wins this fight. I think Michael Bisping will win this fight and put himself right back up there for a title shot eventually. I do think he'll get a title shot one day, because he seems to have the motivation to have it, but he hasn't really lost that. He lost to Vanderlei, which was probably his last big loss. I know he lost to Chael in there, but a lot of people thought he won that fight. I don't. I thought Chael won that. But he's fought the kind of see, I'm going to get some stick for this. I think he fought some of the cans of the division. I think Belcher's did some of the same, but he's faced a little bit higher, like in Palhares and stuff like that. He beat Brian Stan, which I think is a great win in the division. But as I say, he lost to Belfort next time out. But I'm going to go with Michael Bisping by decision in this fight. And next up, we've got the main event, which is I'm really looking forward to. I just love watching Jon Jones fight. I usually fly out and watch all these fights. I couldn't get to. I was going to go to UFC 151 before the whole debacle started, and then there was UFC 152 in Montreal, which I just couldn't get time off work to go to either. Really wanted to go to this one, couldn't. Things kind of cropped up. I was there for when he beat Rampage. I was there when he beat Machida. But yeah, Jon Jones, just talent. That's all you can really describe him. It's just one of the most talented fighters the UFC has ever seen, coming from a Greco-Roman wrestling background. Showed it earlier on in his career. Doesn't show it so much now. He's got some nice trips and takedowns. I think the guy's one of the best submission artists in the UFC. I think he's always learning about submissions. I think this is going to be his 5th defence of the UFC title against Chael Sonnen. He's beat some of the best light heavyweights in the world. Rampage, Shogun, Lyoto Machida, who there's a good chance if he wins this will face again as well. He fought Vitor Belfort, where he nearly got caught in an armbar, but managed to get out, and he managed to finish the fight eventually late on. But as I say, I'm a big Jon Jones fan. I don't expect anything else but the W here for Jon Jones. But he's against a fighter who is, I think, is just one of the funniest guys in this earth. Chael Sonnen. He just manages to get himself big fights against big name fighters. He'll win a few, he'll lose a few. He beat Stan and Bisping before he fought Anderson Silva again. Anderson Silva took him out in the second fight. And then he got the coaching slot on the tough 17 because he tried to step up when Dan Henderson got injured and the UFC 151 card got scrapped. He tried to step up, but he fought the who's who of the middleweight division and beat most of them. But this is a fight too far. He's not gonna. I don't think he is a really good wrestler, but I don't think he's gonna get anywhere near Jon Jones, and Jon Jones can do whatever he wants, throw whatever he wants, and he's going to catch him. I don't expect this to get outside the first round. at least the second. But I think it'll be a fun fight, and they say anything Chael Sonnensen's always fun. He always hypes the shit out of events. So John Jones by knockout first round, spinning back elbow straight to the face, out, or a front kick to the face. That's another one I might go for. But let me know your predictions for the card. Really fun card. I'm looking forward to it this weekend. So come and tell me what your predictions are. Come follow me on Twitter. Lots of good people on Twitter there who love talking about MMA, and they'll help you learn some stuff if you're new to it, which I learn a lot from the people on there. So come and follow me on Twitter, BigBilber7 MMA. I will be back. I think it's Belfort, Rockhold in Brazil. It's the next event. So I'll be back and I'll get a video popped out for that. But in the meantime, enjoy UFC 159, and I will see you in the middle of May, round about my birthday on the 10th. I think it's maybe the 15th, I could be wrong. No, that's a load of shit. It'll be round about my birthday anyway. So enjoy the card, and I will see you all soon. Thank you.